Imagine waking up on a Monday morning feeling this, just this vague sense of panic about your health.
Oh, yeah. The classic morning dread.
Right. And you decide the only logical solution is to, buy a $500 espresso machine or like
Oh.
a massive set of complicated vitamins that you do not even really understand.
Which you absolutely do not need.
Exactly. You don't need these things. But your brain is temporarily tricked into thinking that swiping your credit card it'll buy you a feeling of safety.
It's a very real phenomenon. I mean, we often think our choices are just our own, right? But the planetary movements have just a massive impact on the background noise of our minds.
Yeah, and welcome back to Horoscope TV, by the way. Today we are breaking down the exact cosmic triggers that cause that panic.
And more importantly, how you can use the stars to completely avoid it.
Yes. And today, our entire focus is on one specific group of people navigating that noise. This conversation is dedicated entirely to you, our listener, with the Virgo zodiac sign.
All for the Virgos today.
Right. If you are a Virgo, or maybe if you share your life with one and you just want to understand the mechanics of how they operate, you are in the exact right place.
We are going to analyze the astrological data for the week of March 16th to March 22, 2026.
And we really have a dense stack of data to get through, don't we?
We do. We are tracking the specific angles of the planets, the changing phases of the moon, and exactly how these moving pieces lock into your natural Virgo hardware.
Yeah, but before we get into the daily breakdown, let me just frame the week for you. Because the core theme for your week, Virgo, revolves around perfect structure.
Which they love.
They absolutely love it. Perfect structure, finding actual massive joy, and watching things that have been confusing finally make complete sense.
Which really is the ideal environment for a Virgo. I mean, structure is your baseline requirement for peace, you know.
Yeah.
Joy is what happens when that structure is just functioning properly.
I am so glad you were here with me to analyze this, because we need to translate these movements in the sky into practical steps.
Exactly, keeping it completely grounded.
Right. No big academic words, just clear explanations of how this machinery works and how you can use it. So let's start with Monday, March 16th.
Let's do it.
The data suggests the week begins with this really strong pull to look inward before taking any action. What is happening mechanically up in the sky?
Well, two major shifts happen on Monday. First, the moon crosses into the sign of Pisces.
Okay.
And second, the planet Mercury moves into a position where it forms a square with Lilith.
All right, let's take those apart, starting with the moon, because the moon governs our emotional baseline, right?
It does. It's your feelings, your internal rhythm.
And Pisces is a water sign, so it's very fluid, emotional, and heavily focused on connection.
Right.
How does that water mix with our listeners' very practical, earthbound Virgo nature?
So it acts like a mirror.
Yeah.
In the astrological data, Pisces, it's exactly opposite Virgo on the wheel.
Oh, directly across.
Directly across. So when the moon moves into Pisces, it basically shines a huge spotlight directly across the wheel onto your partnership sector. Suddenly, all your underlying hopes, your expectations, and honestly, maybe your frustrations about your relationships are just pulled right to the surface.
So you find yourself suddenly hyper-focused on the other people in your life.
Exactly.
You start examining your romantic partner or your business associates or close friends, and you're just analyzing what is working and what isn't.
Yes, but here is where the mechanics get a bit tricky for a Virgo. Because the instinct, when you see a problem in a partnership, is to step in and fix the other person.
Right, you want to organize them, like, let me fix your life for you.
Yeah, let me just adjust how you're doing this. But the data shows that this Pisces moon actually requires the total opposite approach.
Wait, really?
Yeah, to resolve the relationship tension, you actually have to spend quiet time entirely alone, just focusing on your own personal supportive goals.
Okay, I need to push back on that a little, because if the spotlight is on partnerships and the emotional tension is about other people, why is the solution to just walk away and be alone?
I know.
That sounds like you're just ignoring the problem.
It sounds super counterintuitive, but think of it like tuning an instrument. If you were playing a duet and the music sounds terrible, your first instinct is to lean over and tune the other person's guitar.
Oh, that makes sense.
But you cannot do that effectively if your own guitar is completely out of tune. Taking quiet time alone is how a Virgo tunes their own instrument.
Okay.
You have to center yourself, look at your own health routines, and just ensure your daily habits are supporting you first.
Because if your own foundation is cracked, your attempts to quote-unquote fix a partner will just come out as nagging or criticism.
Exactly. And Virgos can be very critical when they're stressed.
For sure.
When you take that quiet time to ground yourself, you stop reacting from a place of stress. You get super clear on what you actually need from the other person, rather than just pointing out what they're doing wrong.
That makes a lot of sense. You secure your own oxygen mask first. Now, let's look at the second event on Monday. Mercury is squaring Lilith. Now, I know Mercury is the engine of our communication, like how we process information and speak. But Lilith is a more obscure point in the data. What is it, and what does a square actually do?
So a square is an angle of 90 degrees between two things in the sky.
Yeah.
And mechanically, it creates friction.
Like a roadblock.
Kind of like two cars arriving at a four-way stop at the exact same time.
Mm.
They both really want to move forward, but they're blocking each other. It forces some sort of resolution.
Okay. And Lilith.
Lilith represents the shadow self.
Mm.
It is literally the basement of your mind. It holds all the suppressed desires, the hidden fears, and the things you just feel you're not allowed to say.
Oh, wow. So if Mercury is communication, and it is hitting a friction point with Lilith, the shadow self, that feels like forcing a door open.
It does.
To use an analogy, it feels like dealing with a messy closet.
Walk me through how you see that. I like that.
Well, every Virgo has a space, maybe a literal physical closet or maybe an emotional one, and it's where they hide all the things that do not fit their perfect organized image.
Yep. The junk drawer of the soul.
Exactly. It is where you shove the ugly feelings, the irrational fears, or the desires you just think are too messy. You keep the door shut so the rest of the room looks perfectly clean.
That is a very, very accurate psychological profile for a Virgo.
But with Mercury hitting that square, the friction breaks the lock on that door. You cannot just organize the rest of the room anymore.
No, you can't.
The pressure forces you to pull everything out of that closet into the bright light. You have to look at the hidden fears and the quiet desires you totally forgot you even had.
That is the exact mechanism of this transit. Mercury demands that the contents of Lilith be spoken out loud.
Wow.
And in the realm of love and romance, the data is completely uncompromising here. This energy requires you to communicate your deepest hidden desires with total, absolute honesty.
That sounds incredibly uncomfortable for a sign that likes to keep things neat and tidy. Pulling those messy desires out and showing them to a partner. That is a very vulnerable move.
It is extremely vulnerable. But a square does not let you hide.
Yeah.
If you want more affection,
Yeah.
but you have been suppressing that need because, you do not want to seem needy,
Yeah.
this transit will make that suppression feel completely unbearable.
The pressure just builds.
The friction will build until you say it out loud. So the advice here is to manage the release.
Right. Don't just explode.
Exactly. Do not wait until you explode in anger. Sit down, look at what came out of the closet, and explain it very clearly to your partner. No dropping hints. Just state exactly what you need.
Okay, so that is how the messy closet affects relationships. But how does this translate to money? Because the opening of our show mentioned buying an espresso machine out of panic.
Right.
How does Mercury squaring Lilith mess with a Virgo's wallet?
Well, this is where we see the shadow side of Earth signs. Earth signs find their security in the physical world, things they can touch.
Okay.
When Lilith gets agitated, the hidden fears it releases are very often fears about survival or health or competence. The friction makes you feel inadequate or totally unsafe.
And because Virgos are so practical, they try to solve that emotional fear with a physical transaction.
Yes, that is exactly what we call fear-based buying. It is a huge psychological trap. You feel a sudden, irrational panic that you are, say, falling behind at work.
Right.
Instead of recognizing that as an emotional shadow, you try to buy a solution. So you purchase 3 expensive online courses you totally do not have the time to take.
You are not buying the courses to actually learn. You are buying them to silence the panic.
Precisely. Or you feel a hidden fear about your health, aging or getting sick.
Right, so that's where the vitamins come in.
Yes. You buy that $500 espresso machine or the complicated vitamins. You are literally throwing money at an emotional ghost.
I see the track. So how do we outsmart this? If a listener feels that sudden urge to buy something on Monday, how do they test it?
You apply friction to the purchase. When you feel the urge to hand over your credit card, force yourself to pause for a full 24 hours.
A cooling off period.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ask yourself what feeling you are trying to make go away. If the answer is anxiety, fear, or just a sense of not being good enough, step away from the register.
Because buying the item will not fix the feeling at all, and then you just end up with credit card debt, which creates actual logical anxiety.
Which is the absolute last thing a Virgo needs. The data shows that your financial sector is actually very strong this week. But you have to guard the gate on Monday.
Yeah.
Do the internal work. Look at the fear, acknowledge it, but absolutely do not fund it.
That is a really solid strategy. So Monday is the heavy lifting. You tune your own instrument, you empty the emotional closet, and you keep your wallet totally closed.
Yeah.
But once you clear that out, the week changes gear entirely,
It
right?
really does. The friction clears up, and we move into a much faster, way more rewarding phase.
Let's transition to Wednesday, March 18, because after the heavy quiet time of Monday, the sky suddenly opens up with some very different angles. What is the data doing on Wednesday?
Wednesday is marked by two massive connections. Venus forms a square with Jupiter, and the Sun forms a sextile with Uranus.
Okay, let's start with the Sun and Uranus. You mentioned earlier that a square is a 90-degree angle that causes friction. What exactly is a sextile?
A sextile is a 60-degree angle. So unlike a square, which blocks you, a sextile acts like a total tailwind. It is an angle of opportunity and really positive cooperation between two planets.
Nice. And the planets involved are the Sun, which is our core identity, and Uranus. Now, Uranus is the wild card, right?
Very much so.
It rules sudden changes, surprises, and disruption. Usually, telling a Virgo that a sudden surprise is coming is a great way to just ruin their entire day.
Oh, absolutely.
Virgos live by their carefully planned calendars. Won't sudden surprises from Uranus completely stress them out?
It's true. A Virgo thrives on predictable outcomes. A sudden change usually forces them to recalculate their entire mental spreadsheet.
Which is exhausting.
Right. But remember the angle. Because this is a positive connection, a sextile, these are the absolute best kind of surprises. Uranus is not throwing a wrench into your plans. It is literally handing you a shortcut.
A shortcut. Okay, give me an example of how a sudden surprise can actually be a good thing for a strict planner.
Think about your work environment. You have been grinding away at a project, doing things the standard methodical way. The Sun sextiling Uranus acts like a flash of lightning in your brain.
Like a light bulb going off.
Exactly. It delivers a sudden, totally brilliant idea that solves a complex problem in half the time.
Ah, so it is an internal disruption. It is a disruption of your own routine thinking. It is that moment in the shower where you suddenly realize, wait, if we just automate this one spreadsheet, we save 3 hours a week.
Yes, it is a spark of genius. And because it is tied to your career sector in the data, acting on this sudden idea will absolutely impress your strict bosses.
Oh, that's huge.
You might find a rigid boss suddenly very open to your weird, unconventional solution.
So the advice here is not to cling too tightly to the standard operating procedure on Wednesday. If your brain hands you a brilliant, weird idea, just run with it.
Run with it. The data also indicates this tailwind could bring positive sudden surprises directly to travel.
Like what?
You might get a sudden cancellation that unexpectedly frees up your afternoon, allowing you to finish a crucial task. Or maybe a last-minute invitation that perfectly aligns with a goal you already have.
Yeah.
The key is to just stay flexible enough to catch the wind.
I really like that. Be flexible enough to catch the wind. Now, let's look at the other major event on Wednesday. Venus is squaring Jupiter.
Yes.
We are back to a square, that 90-degree friction. Venus governs what we value, so love, beauty, and money. And Jupiter is like a giant magnifying glass, right?
It is. It expands whatever it touches. It makes things massive.
So it pushes things.
It pushes it, and it often pushes it straight to excess. Jupiter does not know when to stop.
So if Jupiter is magnifying Venus and there's friction pushing them together, how does that actually manifest in a person's behavior?
It creates an intense, almost overwhelming urge to be incredibly generous. In your romantic life, your heart just feels too big for your chest. You want to express your affection in grand, sweeping gestures. You want to spoil your sweet partner with beautiful gifts.
But again, we are talking to Virgos. A grand sweeping gesture for, like, fire sign might be renting a billboard. What does a Virgo want to do when Jupiter tells them to go big?
Well, a Virgo still wants to be highly practical. The friction comes from trying to balance the Jupiter urge to be grand and extravagant with the strict Virgo need to be useful.
Right.
If you just buy 100 red roses, your Virgo brain will look at them and think, these are going to rot in 5 days and I have to clean up the dead petals, and it was a massive waste of money.
The guilt will immediately ruin the gesture.
Completely.
So how do you satisfy both planets? How do you go grand without triggering the practical guilt?
You find the exact intersection of luxury and utility. You buy the grand, beautiful gift, but you ensure It is an item of supreme practical value.
Give me a tangible example of that.
So instead of the roses, you buy your partner a high-end, beautifully engineered winter coat that will last for a solid decade.
Oh, nice.
Or you buy them a top-of-the-line set of noise-canceling headphones they desperately need for their commute.
Hmm.
It satisfies Jupiter because it is a wonderful, high-quality purchase. But it satisfies Virgo because it serves a daily practical purpose.
You are buying a premium tool. I love that. It shows massive affection, but it makes totally logical sense. What if the listener is single, though? Where does this expanding Venus energy go?
It turns inward. Treat yourself to that premium, practical item, and it turns outward into your social presence.
So.
This energy makes you highly magnetic. People are drawn to the generosity of spirit you are projecting. You will find that interactions carry a warmth and an ease that is very refreshing.
And because Venus also rules money, how does the Jupiter expansion affect your finances? You warned us to keep the wallet strictly closed on Monday to avoid fear-based buying, but on Wednesday, the rules change.
The rules completely change because the underlying emotion is totally different. Monday was about hidden fear. Wednesday is about abundance.
Okay.
The data points to a strong possibility of a massive, unexpected bonus or a totally wonderful gift. When Venus and Jupiter clash in this specific way, it often forces a sudden release of resources in your direction.
Like a literal payout.
Yes, it could be a bonus at work, maybe tied to that brilliant Uranus idea you shared, or a dividend paying out. The money sector is highly active and very positive. The friction just means you might have to take a tiny action to claim it.
Like sending an invoice.
Exactly, or formally asking for the raise.
So Wednesday is this totally dynamic, exciting day. You have flashes of genius, you are giving premium, practical gifts, your relationships are warm, and money is moving in your direction. It is a lot of outward energy.
It is, which perfectly sets the stage for the very next day. Because after all this fresh inspiration and luck, the universe provides the perfect blank slate to plan what comes next.
Yes. Let's move into Thursday, March 19th. The sky gives us a new moon in Pisces. I want to spend some time on this because new moons are foundational.
Very much so.
Mechanically, a new moon happens when the sun and the moon are in the exact same degree of the sky. The sky is dark, there is no moonlight at all.
Exactly. It is the end of one lunar cycle and the beginning of the next. The darkness is a blank slate.
I always think of a new moon as planting a garden. The ground is dark, you get to decide exactly what flowers you want to grow, you press the seed in, and you wait.
I love that analogy.
But this soil is Pisces soil. We talked about Pisces on Monday. It is watery, gentle, and driven by dreamy emotion. As a Virgo, planting my highly organized, practical seeds in emotional water feels like it would just create mud.
That is one way to look at it. But let's reframe the metaphor a bit. Earth and water do not just make mud, they make clay.
Oh, wait, I like that a lot. Clay can be molded. It holds a shape.
Precisely. The Virgo earth gives perfect structure, and the Pisces water gives it the gentleness needed to mold it into something brand new.
Okay, I see.
A purely logical goal without any gentle emotion behind it will just crumble when things get hard, and a purely emotional dream without structure will wash away. Thursday is about combining the two.
So you are using this new moon to set goals that are deeply structured, but driven by a dreamy, gentle desire.
Exactly. And the data breaks down 3 specific areas where the listener needs to mold this clay.
Let's break those down. What is the first area?
The first area is romance. The data says you need to make a completely new wish for your romantic future safely.
How does a Virgo set a romantic intention without it just turning into a strict list of demands? Like, I want someone who does the dishes, folds the laundry, and is always on time.
By adding the gentle Pisces water, you do not just list the chores, you list the feeling those actions create. You set an intention to build a relationship grounded in safe, mutual service and peace.
So focusing on the vibe.
Right. If you are single, you visualize a partner who brings a calming, reliable presence into your world. You're wishing for a shared sanctuary.
And if you are already partnered,
You set a brand new goal together. You use the dark sky of the new moon to safely agree on a new chapter. Maybe the intention is to communicate more gently, or to completely protect your shared time from outside stress.
that feels very grounded and safe. What is the second area for goal setting on Thursday?
The second area is your career and money. This is where the Virgo spreadsheet really shines, but again, it needs the Pisces dream.
So we are not just looking at the next paycheck. We are looking way down the road.
Exactly. The data urges you to network, expand your professional goals safely, and set brand new goals for long-term income.
Okay.
A Virgo naturally focuses on the immediate details, getting today's tasks done perfectly. The new moon asks you to lift your head and look 5 years into the future.
Blending the dream with the practical step.
Yes, you allow yourself the Pisces dream of financial independence. Then you apply the Virgo mechanics. You write down the exact safe networking steps required to get there. You decide exactly which new skills you need to acquire.
You're building the totally practical scaffolding for the big dream.
And you must do it quietly. A new moon is not the time to announce your plans to the entire office. You write it down in your notebook. You plant the seed in the dark.
We have romance, we have career. What is the third area of focus for Thursday?
The third area is health and wellness,
Mhm.
and the data is very clear here. You need to focus entirely on completely healing your spirit through gentle meditation.
A Virgo's spirit and nervous system are notoriously tightly wound. They are ruled by Mercury, which makes their brains run like high-speed processors.
Oh, no, stop.
They are always analyzing, always categorizing, finding the flaw that needs fixing.
Which is an incredible skill for work, but a total disaster for internal peace. You cannot run a processor at 100% indefinitely without it overheating.
But telling a Virgo to just meditate and clear your mind usually completely backfires. If I tell a Virgo to sit quietly and think of nothing, they are literally just going to mentally reorganize their pantry.
Yeah, that is why the meditation must be structured. The clay needs the earth. You do not do empty mind meditation.
What do you do instead?
You do a walking meditation where your mind is given a specific repetitive job. Focus entirely on the exact mechanics of your heels striking the pavement.
Give the brain a bone to chew on so it stops chewing on you.
Exactly. Or engage in a repetitive tactile task that requires absolute focus but zero analytical judgment. Knitting or weeding a garden. The goal is just to bring the mental speed down.
Just slow down the engine.
The Pisces energy on Thursday provides a natural, gentle softness. Lean into it. Let the spirit completely heal.
Because the very next day, the energy explodes outward. Thursday is the quiet before a major shift.
It is. Friday is when the path totally opens up.
Let's talk about Friday, March 20. This is the big shift. We have two massive changes happening in the data. The Sun enters Aries, and Mercury turns direct. Let's start with Mercury.
Mercury turning direct is arguably the biggest relief you will feel this week. For the past few weeks, Mercury's been retrograde, appearing to move backwards.
The classic Mercury retrograde. Everyone blames it for everything.
You really do.
Broken printers, lost emails, severe mental stress. Mechanically, what is happening when it finally turns direct?
Think of it like a massive traffic jam. During a retrograde, the road gets blocked, cars are stopped, people are honking, everything is delayed and stressful.
You were just sitting there, unable to move forward.
Exactly. When Mercury finally turns direct on Friday, it is like the traffic jam completely clears up. The accident is moved off the road, and you can safely hit the gas pedal.
Oh, that is such a good feeling. Let's break down exactly what clears up for our Virgo listener, because Mercury is their ruling planet.
Right, they feel it deeply. Let's look at the first area of relief. It perfectly clears up all partnership misunderstandings.
Okay, so tying back to Monday's messy closet.
Exactly. On Friday, the execution of those hard conversations becomes totally effortless. The confusion fades.
So if you and your love have been struggling to understand each other without sad delays or hurt feelings, Friday ensures the translation software finally works.
Yes, you say what you mean, and they hear exactly what you intended. What is the second area that clears up?
Well, you mentioned mental stress earlier.
Yes, the traffic jam clears the severe mental stress, which brings absolute physical wellness.
Because Virgos hold their anxiety physically, usually tight shoulders or an upset stomach.
The mind-body connection for a Virgo is totally instantaneous. The mental traffic jam causes physical pain. When Mercury moves forward, the brain relaxes and the body immediately follows. You will feel physically fantastic on Friday.
That is amazing. And what about work and money? Mercury rules contracts.
The data strongly advises waiting until Friday to safely sign important contracts.
Let the road clear before you commit.
Exactly. Furthermore, it ensures all delayed checks finally clear. If an invoice has been stuck, Friday is the trigger point where the funds finally move safely into your account.
So Mercury brings clarity, physical wellness, and financial movement. That is huge. But we also have the Sun moving into Aries on the same day.
Yes, a totally new astrological season begins. We're moving from gentle Pisces water into Aries fire. Aries is pure, fast, social energy.
Now, fire and earth. That is a tricky mix. Fire is loud and fast. Earth is quiet and slow. How does the sun entering Aries affect a Virgo?
It acts like a furnace kicking on. It warms up the environment. For a Virgo, it brings highly social, fun, intimate dates. You will seek out fun activities with lovely close friends.
The data points out something very specific here. Usually, Virgos are introverts who need an empty room to recharge, but the data says to restore your natural energy, you absolutely must socialize.
You must. If you stay isolated with this much fire in the atmosphere, it will turn into anxiety. You have to vent the energy safely.
So go complete group tasks happily with your team or go on a fun date.
Exactly. Plus, your intuition regarding money will be perfectly sharp under this Aries sun. Trust your gut.
So Friday is this massive engine starting up. Communication is clear, the body feels good, the money is moving, and the social battery is charging.
It is a phenomenal setup for the weekend. But as you carry this momentum into Saturday and Sunday, you have to be very careful about who you bring along for the ride.
That brings us to Sunday, March 22, and the topic of compatibility. Who should the listener bring along, and who should they completely avoid to keep their peace?
Well, on Sunday, the planet Mars forms a trine with Jupiter.
Okay, we talked about squares and sextiles. What is a trine?
A trine is a 120-degree angle. It is a state of total flow, action flowing effortlessly into massive luck.
Sounds perfect.
It is, but your ability to use this flow depends entirely on your company. The compatibility data warns that your absolute worst match right now is an Aries person.
Wait, I notice a huge contradiction here.
I know.
We just established that the sun entering Aries brings fun social energy and is a good thing, but the data says an Aries person is our absolute worst match. How does that make any sense?
It is a crucial distinction. It is the difference between background weather and a personified laser beam.
Walk me through that.
Imagine it is the bright, sunny day. The background temperature is warm. It feels good. It lifts your mood. That is the sun in Aries.
Okay.
Now, imagine a person walks up to you holding a magnifying glass, focusing that sunlight directly onto your arm until it loudly burns you.
Oh.
That is the Aries person. They concentrate the fire energy and direct it at you in a way that is intense, reckless, and impossible to ignore.
The weather is nice, but the guy with the magnifying glass is a total menace.
Exactly. Virgo deeply desires highly organized, completely planned activities. But an Aries wants to loudly rush and boldly conquer random goals.
Total opposite.
Their chaos will totally frustrate a Virgo's need for predictable safety. Relate this back to the Venus and Jupiter square from Wednesday.
Right, the urge to be generous.
Virgo acts practically, buying the nice coat. Aries demands reckless action, emptying their savings to buy a motorcycle they don't know how to ride.
And watching that would give a Virgo a panic attack.
It leads to massive, unnecessary arguments. The advice is strict. Avoid their exhausting energy entirely.
Step far out of the way. So if we avoid Aries, who is the best match? Who is the perfect teammate?
The data points directly to Capricorn. Contrasts this heavily with Aries. Capricorn is the exact perfect team for a Virgo.
Another Earth sign. Why are they the perfect fit?
They share the exact same practical, highly organized approach. When you pair up with a Capricorn under a Mars trining Jupiter energy, you completely thrive together.
It is they respect the rules.
Right. They know exactly how to provide the loyal, pure affection Virgo craves. Capricorn provides a heavy, grounded loyalty.
So socializing with a Capricorn might look like going to a quiet, high-quality restaurant, safely discussing goals, and being home by 10.
For an Earth sign, that is deeply satisfying. The Mars and Jupiter energy brings massive total career luck and secure financial expansion when you share intellectual goals with Capricorn.
They are the perfect co-pilot to ride the wave of good luck.
Exactly.
Before we wrap up, let's give the listener the specific tools from the data. The Virgo Toolkit.
Yes, the numbers, dates, and colors to maximize this perfectly structured week.
The lucky numbers are 6, 16, 26, 36, 46, and 56.
Yes.
I have to say, looking at that list, it is so perfectly neat and organized, all ending in 6. That is very fitting for a Virgo.
The neatness is a direct reflection of the structure you crave. Use it as a grounding mechanism.
And the calendar. The best dates are March 19, 20, and 21.
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Thursday for quiet planning, Friday for safely signing contracts when Mercury goes direct, and Saturday for connecting with your Capricorn allies.
Perfect. Finally, the color of the week. The data says navy, specifically hex code #0000080. Why navy?
Navy channels deep, secure, protected energy. It is the color of the deep ocean. It cools down the Aries fire.
Oh, I see.
Wear navy, especially on the best dates, to project total competence and cool your internal processor. It creates a perfect, secure buffer.
Just a solid block of deep blue. I love that. Well, as we close out, we want to leave the listener with a final provocative thought.
Yes. Since Mercury going direct completely clears up old misunderstandings and confusion. What is one relationship or old goal you completely gave up on that might suddenly make perfect sense again, starting this Friday?
Wow. A goal you put on the shelf that might actually work now.
Look at that shelf again this weekend. The timing might finally be absolutely perfect.
That is a wonderful assignment. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode on Horoscope TV. We deeply appreciate you.
Navigate the week with confidence, Virgo. You have the total blueprint.
And make sure you hit subscribe so you can get notified the exact moment the next episode is available. Keep your structure perfectly solid, and we will see you next time.